Hey guys, Joe Madden here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. I'm joined this afternoon by Scott Spreitzer, professional handicapper of over 30 years, DocSports.com. Scott, how's the day treating you?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. A lot of baseball taking place in afternoon action, which I always like. Joe, how you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great. You were just saying you just hit an over. Which over did you hit there, John or Scott? Sorry.
Had the over between the Mets and the Giants, and while only one team has scored any runs thus far, they scored enough, 9, to basically get there as far as that goes. And that was San Francisco putting up 9 runs, I believe, all in the first inning. Maybe they got a couple in the second, but 9-0, bottom of the second at last check, Joe.
Wow, that's crazy. What did that total end up closing at for that one?
It was 9. The people who got in late are going to need one more run. I never count anything. I've been doing this long enough. It could be 9-0 in the first inning with a total of 9 and never get there. So I don't want to count the chickens before they're hatched. But those who got it early, they're feeling good right now.
Scott, 30 years in the industry. You've seen the ups, you've seen the downs. How did you get into this industry? And then what do you enjoy most about it?
Yeah, I got into sports radio at the ripe old age of 20 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I moved out to Vegas when I was 17, a month out of high school, and got a gig in sports radio in Las Vegas. It turned into a morning sports betting show after about 6 months. And of course, I was not yet 21, but it was pretty easy to get into clubs, get into sports books and things of that nature in 1988, 89, Joe. And that's what I did. And what happened was, as I was doing that morning show, and I got a call from a host of what was then the world famous Stardust line, which was broadcast live every Friday and Saturday night from the Stardust Race and Sportsbook. It was a 2-hour show. And guys like, for instance, Lefty Rosenthal hosted that show. That's how it began.
Okay.
People will know him from casino fame and all that kind of stuff. So Jim Brown, the former football player, was co-hosting before I got the call. He had decided to call it quits after doing it for a few years. So I was a young guy. I mean, I was like 22 years old when I got that. And then ended up working for National Sports Services. And I've been talking from a betting perspective my entire adult life. I'm 55 now, so I've been doing this for quite a while, Joe.
Oh, good for you. Definitely some ups and downs I'm sure you've seen in the industry. What do you think the positives are in the industry now from when you started?
I think the positives are that you're seeing people, I think, understand the amount of work that goes into this more than they did maybe in the 1990s. I did a national TV show in the 1990s on USA Network and a few other stations like WGN and things of that nature. And what I've seen, the biggest change is the average bettor is much more educated now when it comes to point spreads, parlays, props, futures, all that kind of stuff than they ever were back then. So you've got a better educated bettor, if you will, which actually I think makes what I do easier. When I'm talking to clients, I'm able to talk to them at a level that's different than 25, 30 years ago because, of course, they're more in tune to what's going on. So it's a much more educated bettor 30 years later. Just the information that's out there on the internet makes the info available to anybody who wants to put in the time.
I love it. It's definitely a good change. Everything that's happening, all the legalization all over the states. It's phenomenal to see. Now, you have some games you want to talk about today. In the MLB, you're looking at the Marlins versus the Tampa Bay Rays. What are you liking in this one here?
Yeah, Joe, I played this game under full game last night, a full 9 innings, and we got there. And I'm going first 5. Now, I've almost got a steadfast rule that I did break last night when it came to playing an under full 9 innings, because with the automatic man on second base to start every extra inning, if it gets to extra innings, I've really gone first 5 whenever I play an under. I bet you if I've had 25 unders bet this season, 23 of those have been first 5 innings. So I'm going back to that again today, sticking with my rule that I set for me before the season began with that. I call it a goofy rule. Some people like it. I don't like it. It breaks baseball tradition. I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to the diamond. But anyway, you got Drew Rasmussen on the mound for his Rays, and he's been fantastic since the start of last year. His home numbers are phenomenal. I mean, if you look what he's done this year, short sample size, only 20 2/3 at home, but 20 Ks, 3 walks. That's it. He's got a .buck-62 batting average against in those 20-plus innings that he's thrown at home. And Miami's offense, they're middle of the pack on the road when it comes to facing righties and things like OPS, WOBA, weighted runs created plus, sixth fewest runs scored per game in this particular spot. And this kid, Cody Petit's going to go from Miami. Now, he's a right-hander. He's been terrific thus far. A lot of relief. Most of his work has been done in relief, but Tampa Bay has their issues at home against righties in a lot of the same metrics that I just mentioned, are the metrics that I care about the most. So I'm not going to go full game this time. I'm going to go back to first 5 innings. That totals 3.5, Joe. I like it under.
Yeah, I like it too. We're not paying much juice at minus, or actually we're getting positive money at plus 102 in that one. I was looking at the over number at first. So great way to take this. Love that plus money in this one. We got a great NBA game tonight with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat going at it. Now, question marks on both sides of the ball. Who we're going to see on the court tonight? What are you thinking in this one? Are you looking at a total or are you looking at a side here?
Yeah, I'm looking at the side, and I'm going to give you a quick example of my daily schedule when it comes to handicapping, because this game's a great example. Joe, it's funny because, I send you like tweets at like 3 a.m. Pacific time. You're probably, maybe still asleep, maybe just waking up. I don't know your schedule, but the bottom line is there's myself and 2 other cappers that I always talk to. We're texting each other at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when I do my work, because I feel if you've been doing this for as long as I have, you should be able to beat the closing line about 80 to 85% of the time. Now, when I say that, for those who are new to this, that doesn't mean we win 80 to 85% of the time. 11 to win 10, as everybody knows, 55% is a very good, profitable season. But to get ahead of that line move more often than not really does help in the end game as far as I'm concerned. So last night you could have laid a $1.15 with the Celtics on the money line. You could have laid a point at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. It's now 2.5. I still like them here, and both teams have their injuries, as you alluded to. You've got the situation with Marcus Smart, questionable. Robert Williams III is questionable. But the Celtics have absolutely owned the glass when Al Horford has played in this series. He missed the one game due to the COVID protocol. But when he's on the floor, they own the glass. And I think they can overcome with that bench and with their depth, overcome injuries better than Miami. And I'm a Eric Spoelstra fan through and through. I think he's still one of the most unsung NBA coaches among the general public. Butler's got the sore knee. You never know when that's going to flare up. Even when Tyler Herro plays and he's questionable, he's been a mess from the deep perimeter when he has played in this series. I think he's 1 for 14 from the three-point line. So I do think Boston overcomes their injuries a little bit better than Miami's. It goes on to get that win.
Now, if Boston takes it tonight, do you think they end up taking the whole series here? Because I always look at Game 5 as such a pivotal one in the NBA.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. And that's the thing about Boston so far this postseason. We've seen them win those pivotal games in the first 2 rounds against Brooklyn and, of course, even more against Milwaukee. So they're used to winning these pivotal games. They know they've got to take advantage of trying to get up 3 games to 2. And I do believe they'll go on to win. I jumped in at Boston on the series, spacing off the exact price of the series, but I waited until they lost that opener, and then I came in and jumped on them. This is one of 2 teams in the NBA this entire season that was top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. So I really felt it was going to take a lot to get past this team. If they lose tonight, if I lose my bet, am I going to be shocked? Of course not. It's a 2.5-point spread. Yep. But again, I think Boston wins this game and goes on to win the series.
Okay. Now, if they go on win the series, we're looking at the Golden State Warriors more than likely coming out of the other side. Can they beat the Golden State Warriors?
I'm going to stay with Boston. That's the team. Okay. I actually had Boston facing Phoenix before the postseason began. We saw Phoenix flame out in that home Game 7, which has still got me scratching my head. But I did have Boston over Phoenix.
All of us are still scratching our heads on that one.
Oh, was that crazy or what?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got home court, you've got veteran leadership, you've got great young talent, and you come out as flat as it gets. That's almost to me like, you could almost let the coach go at that point, even though we got that deep into the playoffs for the way they played. But I'm sticking with the Celtics. They were my pick to win it all before the postseason began. So I got a lot of pride and a little bit of money on this game tonight with Boston and for the rest of the series.
I wish you the best in that game. Let's move on to the NHL. Playoffs in hockey are phenomenal right now at the moment. We've got the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues playing tonight. This game is in Colorado. We've seen the St. Louis Blues be able to get one win in Colorado. It's a 3-1 series. Do the Colorado Avalanche close this out tonight in this one, Scott?
Yeah, I do believe they will. And it's basically because of the netminders. I mean, when you look at Bennington, who got banged up, and you look at, for instance, Husso, he's been, they basically solved the Husso equation. And you can look not only at the last 2 games that he's played in this series, but go back 4 games, and he's got a save percentage of less than .850, Joe. I mean, that's just crazy. He's given up like 18 goals on 118 shots on goal. So I just don't think he's going to be able to turn it around. Now, at the same time, I'm a huge David Perron fan, one of my all-time NHL favorites. He's such a pain in the butt if he plays for the other team, But I think that they've got the weaponry to attack on the offensive end of the ice or the offensive zone. Yep. But their confidence can't be great. In fact, that you can actually cut loose and go after the opposing net when you know that your goalie is really struggling badly. And that's what worries me about the Blues in this one. The price is hefty. I've talked to a few people and I've said, we've got a choice of playing the Avs to win in regulation, or to lay the puck line of a goal and a half, which is right around minus $1.10 as we speak. And I chose to lay the goal and a half rather than regulation in this particular game. But you can do either way to obviously decrease that price a little bit. Again, it's just Husso's been a mess. I don't think St. Louis can attack on the offensive end, knowing that they don't have a lot of confidence in Husso on the defensive end of the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be definitely a hard game for St. Louis here to come out and get a win. Like you said, Binghamton going out was a huge difference in this series. Now, when you're looking at Colorado to come out so strong, be able to get those goals on Husso, any thoughts on Colorado's team total? We've got a team total of 3.5 here. We're not laying much juice. I think it was actually right around even this morning. I've got to pull that up. Do you ever bet these team totals, Scott?
I do, and you brought it up, and I think you're really onto something there. I think it coincides with what I'm saying here, because I do, the Blues, again, they have the ability to put a couple of goals on the scoreboard tonight, but I just don't think they're going to hold the Avs to less than 4. So, going along with what you just said, I haven't played it. I'm just going to stick with the puck line as far as the game is concerned, but I certainly would agree with playing the Avs over 3.5 with the problems that St. Louis is having right now, keeping pucks out of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Scott, absolute pleasure having you on here today. Thank you for breaking down these 3 games and giving out your free picks in them. Now, we can find you over at DocSports.com. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're doing over there and what kind of packages you have for sale?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work with Wade and the boys at DocSports.com now it's been about a little over 4 years, almost 4.5 years. And it's kind of funny because when I was growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, here we go again, the old man's talking about yesteryear, right? So when I was growing up in Omaha, Nebraska in the mid-'70s, we used to go to these smoke shops with my dad. We'd get all the information on the games, the old sheets that would come out, Street and Smiths. But there was always that little Docs pamphlet, with that football player with the medic thing on and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, all these years later, here I am working with Doc Sports. So it's really cool. But basically, it's daily packages for the most part. I mean, they could buy, season-long, monthly packages, whatever suits their style. But daily packages is basically the way it goes. And, hey, you got my play for tonight in NBA, so don't run over there and plunk your money down on tonight's NBA play. You've already got it. But if they're interested, they can just check out those daily plays every single day of the week. And they're posted by about 11:30 a.m. Eastern time each and every day.
Okay, awesome. Scott, thank you so much for your time today. You guys make sure you go over and give him a follow on Twitter. The Twitter handle is Scott Wins there. So Scott, absolute pleasure having you on the show. Definitely have to have you back on again. All the best in all of your bets tonight.
Anytime, Joe. I really appreciate it. You do a great job. Thanks, man.
Thank you. You guys have a fantastic night. I won't be back till tomorrow with another Joe Madden Sports podcast, but I will be back later with some sports updates. So enjoy the games tonight, you guys. Scott, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.